Hello, everyone. Today I am joined by wonderful Ashala, who we discovered on the social media lately. It doesn't mean she hasn't been doing her work for over 40 years, you said, Ashala, right?
That's correct. Yes.
There we go. Now we're discovering those diamonds and those treasures that were hidden, and now they are coming out into the light. So,
Now you're discovering how old I am.
no, it's okay. There's no age. This is, we are eternal beings, right?
Yeah.
So we don't look at the numbers for real.
Many of us are ancient, really, aren't we?
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Really, really appreciate. And I want to say to everyone who's watching now, because I always forget to say it, not like it's not important, but I want to say it. Please subscribe to both of our channels. And it's not because of our egos. Let me explain why. It's because when you subscribe and YouTube sees that, so the followers are growing, YouTube also recommends the videos, okay? Which means the messages, the informations are actually going out more. So there is an algorithm that the more people subscribe, the more people watch the video, the more video is recommended. So please subscribe to Ashala and my channel, both of us. The link will be down below. And let's start. So Ashala, my first question, which we actually discussed prior, is I would like to ask about the month of May. What this month will be like? What will be the main energies?
Beautiful. I love it. And I tuned in over the last couple of days about this. I mean, I like to do this. I like to do, as you know, forecasts for the upcoming week, for the moon cycles, for the, between the full moon and the new moon. And really, I think over the last, I remember in 2011, actually even before that, in 2008, I remember my friends getting together and we were like, oh my gosh, it's such powerful times. And it's kind of like we haven't stopped saying that since then, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's just been this like, and the astrologers affirm it. It's like, oh my gosh. And just when you think it can't get more potent, guess what? Here comes May of 2021.
There we go.
So what I started tuning into, I mean, I got a lot of insights about it, but what was really coming to me was this, it's the month of May, the 5th month, 5D. And to me, it's the vibration of the heart. So if you look back on I did a forecast for the whole year. And when I got to May, it was the Knight of Cups is what came through. And it's this leading from the heart and responding from the heart. And recently, I just had an opportunity to go back and review some of Barbara Handclough. I don't know if you're familiar with her. She's an author, educator, who has been working with the Palladian energy and the 9 dimensions of alchemy for decades, literally decades. And she talked about way back before any of this 5D was like popular conversation. She was channeling information about this very tricky but essential transition between 3D and 5D. And of course, the major in-between zone is 4D, which we don't really hear a lot about. And so I just want to speak about that for a moment, because 4D is the energy of emotion, and it's also our collective stories and our dissemination of information, and where we have the opportunity to be led by forces that want to basically take our power and lead us in a direction. So when we go through 4D, there's so much of having to orient ourselves and really learn how to identify truth. So here we are in the truther community, and I feel that we are almost overwhelmed with information and data from all these different perspectives. And it's important that we are tuning in and getting all those perspectives, because to me, it's almost like building a giant puzzle. And we start to see, oh my gosh, this is so much more complex than I ever imagined. And we start to see wow, you know, like I never knew about this, I never knew about that. They seem so opposite. How is this all going on at the same time? But to me, what sort of helps us navigate through all that 4D, it's the astral plane, basically. And what helps us navigate with our ability to see these patterns and synchronicities in 4D. It's almost like the little bits of information, and even where that information is coming from.
Yes.
I've said for years when I do my intuitive readings, I don't necessarily say, oh, I am listening to this particular guide or that particular guide. I tune in on a certain vibrational frequency, the bandwidth of the heart, and I receive insight on that bandwidth. And it doesn't, to me, I'm not really concerned where it's coming from. It's the quality of the information. You know, even guides, I think, might have a bad day sometimes, right? Maybe their quality of information is not going to be awesome. So, you know, we don't want to hold beings accountable for that. We want to be able to say, you know, I'm not just giving my power to this being that's telling me, or a person or an individual that's telling me their version of the truth. I'm actually learning to navigate from my heart center. And so this transition between 3D and 5D is through that labyrinth of all information and all the emotion that goes along with that, and the power dynamics connected to that. And what we want to do is we want to find our way to that sort of end place in 5D that's heart-centered, and even beyond that into the 6th dimension, which is the harmonic. You know, the 6th dimension is where things really, the heart really opens and harmonizes, and there's beauty and a lot of exchange. So this navigation through the 4th dimension with our heart center open, we learn to trust ourselves as opposed to trusting the outside version of reality. We learn to trust the inside version.
Yes, so I always say this. You don't really need anyone, and I know this sounds weird, we don't even need these conversations, but those are like reminders, because all the answers are inside.
Yes,
truly inside. So Ashala, when you're saying the month of May, do you see in the month of May we are more connected to the heart chakra?
Yes.
Okay.
And so what are the ways that we can find our way back to the heart chakra? So what this information, as we're navigating through 4D, trying to find our way towards 5D and 6D, the information that can really spin us out and play us into power dynamic is connected to our trauma. It's connected to our personal trauma or our ancestral trauma. And so that it's almost like we don't really get to graduate much further beyond that until we work with that, till we acknowledge and do some healing work with that. So I feel like, you know, I just am seeing almost lineups in front of trauma healers' doors, and like this is our opportunity to, it's like all this information is awesome. Keep it coming. We need to have a great big picture of all these different versions of truth and all the different debates that go on within that. It's beautiful, it's perfect. And yet we're not really going to be able to find our way in a good way where we arrive at that 5D and 6D without doing some healing of trauma.
Yes. You know, may I share something with you, because you just reminded me of that, Ashala. Last year, when a lot of those informations was coming out and forth, and I was coming across that, what was happening, you know, the situation with children and all of this, very, very, there is no word even to describe that. So when I was coming across this, I remember there is this thing, I think, in our brain that we almost like want to deny it, or not even, I would say, like kind of step away from it and ignore it in order not to face it. But I just know, and I came to that place, I think millions of people did as well. You have to face it. It doesn't mean you have to become it, but you have to face it in order to heal it. That's how I look at that. And that helped me. because I faced it. It didn't mean I stay in it forever, but I had to face it, acknowledge it in a way, not approve it, but acknowledge the presence of it. And then I felt like that the power of that energy is no longer affecting me.
Yes, yes. And, you know, the state that you're in when you take that information in and what you are prepared to do with that, and how you let that transform you as a being. If it creates this sense of, you know, I mean, obviously there's tremendous grief associated with it. And yet to me, there's two different kinds of grief. There's a beautiful, healthy kind of grief where we can actually like surrender to acknowledging the beauty of existence. And it's because we love and care for things that it matters so much, you know. And if we can keep that vibration of love through our grief, instead of going to fear or anger or resistance, as soon as we go to that place, the power, those dynamics have a hook on us, so to speak, you know. And so I started exploring what would be called conspiracy information in the mid 90s. And I realized pretty quickly, because I'm an empath and I started experiencing some kind of scary, almost poltergeist sort of stuff in my life when I was looking at that stuff. And I was like, oh, and I've learned that the way to navigate it when you get into that realm is to get back into the heart. And the way we get back into the heart is feeling what we can do to address that. Like as soon as we are expanding, I like to say, you know, when we're going out in the world with a spirit of generosity, with some kind of offering and a gift for humanity, and we feel empowered to do that, then we're not in that like fearful shutdown place.
Yes.
So I realized that I was better in the morning if I sort of wedged that in between some healthy practice. So I would like make my healthy juice or whatever, and then I would read my conspiracy stuff, and then yoga. I would literally like kind of cover it in this love and this energy of love and healing, because I noticed if I read it at night, or if I read it when I was under any influence of anything, you know, sugar or alcohol or caffeine or whatever, it was like that it would take me in a totally different place. And I wouldn't feel like, you know, one of the things I used to say back in those days, and there wasn't a lot of people that were following this stuff back then, I used to say, you know, what the beautiful part of what I'm observing and learning about is that it affirms to me what I've always believed, which is humanity is actually beautiful, exquisitely love-based beings, and that we've been hijacked and we've been, you know, kind of dominated by all these other energies. And it's like a big game, you know, we've been like pawns in this big game. So once I started, like, to me, the realization of all that information was liberating. It was like, oh, I knew it. I knew humanity was beautiful at the core, you know, and that the narrative that we've been fed through history and everything is the opposite of that. It's that, oh, you know, we're just these like thug-headed Neanderthal cave people that go around, you know.
I know. It's but you know, that's so true what you're saying, because now, honestly, even the simple phrase like we don't feel like ourselves. Like it just came to me. I'm like, why people say it and why we experience this? Like we don't feel ourselves, almost as if our soul, which I do believe that there is this process, and we will get to this. I want to ask you actually about this later, to merge back with our soul, because in the time of traumas, we separate. From that pureness in a way. I mean, it's always around us, it's always there, right? But the sense of connection, I'm trying to say, it's almost like there's a distance between this, and we don't feel ourselves because we are living a reality that has been in the matrix, richly in the matrix, created. I mean, it's like we are in it, but not, we are here, but not really here in a way.
And that is the 4D. That's the matrix of the fourth dimension. Now we want to just think about this for a minute, because that fourth dimension, it's not like a negative dark place. There are negative energies.
Mm-hmm.
There's like bandwidths in 4D. It's also a place that we can create from. It's a place that we can imagine from. You know, I always think about what's the currency that we're traveling through 4D with. If we're traveling with this currency.
I love this. I love how you said this. I love the currency we're traveling. It's just so beautiful. Okay.
You know, indigenous traditions, many of them talk about when someone crosses over, they say that they travel to the realm of the ancestors on boats made of tears. The grief of their people is what guides them through that fourth dimensional
Wow.
realm. So it's the love.
Wow.
It's the love vibration that guides us through all of that, you know. And they, in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, they talk about when you cross over, you know, you face all these demons and these entities that are trying to like draw you towards the power dynamics that they're involved in. Mm-hmm. So you're really safe in this vibration, almost like the boat made of tears. So we get back to the grief, you know, the beauty of humanity and our ability to have authentic emotional experience. So to me, this is the month of May, is inviting us into our hearts to work in healing our trauma, to work in connecting in relationship, and realizing that we are navigating this, you know, for many of us, we're kind of moving back and forth now between 5D, 6D, 3D. And then, of course, where did it all come from is the first and second dimension, which is our Earth home planet. And without staying grounded there, we can get lost up in 4D.
Yeah.
So that's the other message, that if you watch my videos, I'm always suggesting that people find a way back to these practical, pragmatic things in Earth reality. And there's so much going on the Earth plane in terms of our basic needs, how we can survive in new ways. I mean, there's just phenomenal, innovative practices in the areas of, you know, obviously health. We're aware of that. When working with physical health, there's just a plethora of different options available to us, like never before in the history of humanity do we have these options. And things like our living homes and structures, building, different types of building and different types of communities, and how they're created and developed. And, you know, that is an area of amazing potential.
Yes.
And then food production and how we relate to food and how we steward the lands and the waters. Like never before is there so much information available to us about how to work with these things.
So May, it's really a rebirth.
It's a rebirth, and if we follow our ancient European ancestors, traditionally the month of May was the month which began with the festival of Beltane, which is all about reconnecting us with the earth and with the source of our you know, sustainability. So the food and the land and these practices and our relationships with the land and with each other. So, you know, once we get into June, we get more activated to start working out in the world and manifesting and making things happen. And then July and August are like these, you know, it's the potency. It's the sun is, for us in the Northern Hemisphere, the sun is the highest here in July and August. And so we just have so much energy and we can channel all that. But May is like, if we start off in May from the heart, then you can see where June and July and August will go.
You know, it's interesting, Ashala. I will tell you, because I'm listening to you, and then I hear and I see the spiritual image, okay? When you're saying this, I see it like colors and message. And then I actually see like the key points in political arena. It's interesting because I'm like, so I don't want to say the names because we know the shenanigans on YouTube, but what I want to say is when you said May is rebirth, so I felt like some things that are now in the process of being counted, in month of May, they actually will be rebirth to the truth, rebirth, like a new beginning, like new picture. And then you said June. You know what's so strange? I've actually felt in June more connection with extraterrestrials when you said that, because you said like, you know, astro more, and I'm like, wow, that's June. And then you said July, because this is in 4th of July in America, like the day of independence, freedom. It's amazing. Like, I mean, I'm sorry, because I felt like when you were saying, I was literally seeing your image and it was coming.
Yes, and if you imagine that we're setting the tone, I mean, this is one of the things that I love about Janine's work, and you know, her perspectives on things. Like, she's not afraid to look right at all these details.
Yes.
And yet she's always finding a way to put a spin on this, where we're in charge of where we go with this information.
Exactly. Yep.
We're in charge of what we imagine the future to look like. And
Yep.
you know, I think that's one of the, if anything has really been hijacked, it's our imagination.
Yep.
It's our ability to see. And so yes, all these different platforms and arenas, so much information coming out in the open, and you know, we're beyond the point of no return now. Like, we are in it, and there's nowhere else to go but all the way through to the other side. So again, how's that journey gonna feel? Do we want to go in through that in a state of like anxiety and like, you know, anger and frustration? Do we want to navigate feeling like every piece of information that we're become more aware of gives us the sovereignty to be able to make better choices in our lives?
Yes, you're so right. Like, it liberates us.
It does.
And I think what has been done to us, that the whole matrix made people believe, or disbelief actually, I would say, that we create we fuel the energy by the focus alone, and we create by that focus and the intention. I think I froze for a moment, but
you froze for a moment. Yeah,
I froze. Yeah, and the important message.
Oh, you say it again.
Yeah, I mean, what a surprise! Hello. So we create by the focus, by intention and the focus. So focus is direction, the energy, and by that we are so powerful. Like, literally anything we can imagine, it means it already
definitely
exists. And if it exists, it means we can experience that. It can become literally the reality, and people don't believe their own power.
Yes. And so here again, what I encourage, especially in the truther community, because like, wow, all this awareness, it's like, where do you put that? You know, I'm doing readings for so many people now, and it's like they're awake. And the major question is, now what? What do I do? You know, how do I like actualize this awakeness? And that's where I'm like, oh, well, let me tell you, there's just like so much going on, because I've been in this alternative realm for so many years. And, you know, it actually has been a little bit challenging, because you know, I lived on the periphery of the game for most of my life, and I'm just so excited to have so many people joining me on that.
I'm so happy you're there. I'm so happy we discovered you, for real. I'm like, this is
now, you know, that periphery has become the main event. Like, we are all, those of us that are showing up in this place, it's so beautiful. So yes, what I encourage, and it's like what I said to you, what I used to do years ago, decades ago, is to work with all your truther information, keep that coming, and also work in alternative paradigm around how do we construct a new earth. And it's actually already in process. There's so many things that have been going on for decades in all these different areas, you know, and I love technology. And I feel like it has a part to play in our transition to a healthier life and to a healthier paradigm and dynamic and matrix. And I'm also like, it's just one small part. I'm not putting all of my eggs in that basket. I'm not over relying on technology to save us from our environmental crises or even our social economic crisis. I'm also not depending on the systems that are similar to the systems that have been overriding all this eons. I'm not depending on similar systems to solve the situation for us as humans. I'm looking at all the alternatives. And one thing I like to say about that is that, if you think, well, how do I know what to focus on? Well, focus on what you're interested in. Focus on what really jazzes you, like if it's fashion, if it's like clothing and like new materials to make clothing out of or something, awesome. Put your attention there. It's like there's new paradigm in every area of human necessity. And to me, if we balance our exploration of the truth with our exploration of alternatives, it's a beautiful, beautiful balancing blend where you have all this awareness and you have ideas of how to act on that. And the closer to home you can keep that, if there's something about, well, we can invest in these big companies, these big green companies or whatever, which is awesome. And yet, you just never know, right? Whereas if you're investing in something that's smaller and where you can actually go to the place and meet the people and see what they're doing, a lot more smaller grassroots kind of new paradigm operations. And they're just everywhere. They are everywhere, all over the planet. And it's
I love this because truly we don't need that much outside of us as we think we do, and it's still being dependable, like you said. Actually, it's a very good point, Ashala, you brought this up, especially with this new financial system. And I've been, in my personal experience, now going through something, and I found a way to balance that uncertainty with the approach of I will create whatever I need in order to go on, and I will see the gift in liberation from any governments or any systems like that, because there is a gift in this.
Definitely.
There is a
definitely
gift. And when you say like you're not depending, you're not depending on the new system, because what happens with a lot of people now is they are also, and I've been there, and I'm not saying I'm not excited about it, I am, but at the same time I ask myself this question: how, like, what if, and I'm not saying it won't, it will happen, but what if we don't we don't hold on to it like it's, like you're sinking in the waters, like when this will come. No, what if right now where we are, we accept that we are actually always going to be provided, always, no matter what the system.
Absolutely. And how does it feel to stand in that truth? How does it feel to come from that place? And, again, like I said, that creates a state where you're coming from your heart. And it's actually more about what you can offer as opposed to what you can get. It's more about what you can give and share. I'll just share with you a little bit because I have a lot of people asking me about investing and about real estate and about where to put what sort of currency to invest in and be involved in. And so I'll just tell you, I don't profess to know the answer, the magical truth, but I'll tell you how I perceive it and what my intentions are with this. And that is that I'm investing and reinvesting in projects and programs that are operated by people that I know and love and respect, and people who are doing things that I feel have tremendous value. So I'm basically investing small and, local. And also when I'm investing in alternative currencies, I'm turning that money over and putting it back into real world, like I say, the big five, the sustainable things. So something in sustainable agriculture, something in sustainable building, something in, some kind of grassroots business and or project that I see has tremendous value.
Mhm.
And that things where it doesn't matter what happens with these bigger systems, they're still going to feed us and clothe us and shelter us.
Yes.
It's like keeping it, and that's to me that navigating and keeping yourself grounded on the earth plane, where we need to feel the core of our earth home, like that pulse beating through our whole bodies. We need to feel secure and grounded here in our earth bodies. And then we navigate from this heart center through the astral realm of imagination. And then we have the access to the higher dimensions. And then I feel like, you asked the question about which entities, or are we going to be visited? Of course, we, as Janine said in her reading the other day, I see that we have been for eons visited, and that there are people who have been receiving direct downloads and also even personal visitations from beings from other dimensions. A lot of the channeling work, even us doing readings, we're interacting with different dimensional beings and realms. What's really important is what realm or vibration are we aligning ourselves with. So to me, they look at what we're doing here on earth and they say, great, you're already taking steps to create the new world. You're already taking steps to create a new reality that's sustainable for humanity. To me, the great beings, the avatars, are going to come right in when we're doing that work. And they'll be there to support us. And I think the more we get involved in that, the more they're going to come. First, it'll be more like, energetic and giving us downloads and giving us guidance. And then I think they're actually going to start showing up. It's going to be really exciting.
Ashala, you said something so profound now. And if you hear the noise outside, I apologize. They are doing some gardening there. So I hope it doesn't.
Well, gardening is always good for me. I think that's rather ironic.
Yes, isn't it? It's like real life, like you attracted to the interview exactly manifestation of the topic. I mean, like how
there we go.
Ashala, I want to ask you this. Actually, I want to mention this, share with you. You mentioned avatars. So I went to Costa Rica about 2 years ago to have my ayahuasca experience.
Mm-hmm.
4 ceremonies in a row. And it was
Wow.
very special. Each night was a different brew from different region of the world, and also different shamans, Ashala.
Mm.
So in one of those ceremonies, I think it was the second night actually, there were 2 shamans, and I've experienced something very special because I look at them, actually one of them I look, and there was one boy who was like a facilitator, like helping to make sure that everyone is safe and okay. So he was just walking around, and there were many people like that. So anyway, I look at the shaman and I literally saw the avatar. So like I know he was.
Absolutely.
I know he was. So I look at his eyes, Ashala, and his eyes, I mean, literally like in the movie Avatar, I'm not making this up. And I'm like, I look at him and I was so full of love because I was actually in a good place with ayahuasca. And I'm like, oh, I look at him, you are Avatar. And then I saw his eyes, like, like cat eyes. And I saw like, wait, like the ears. And then he had a tail.
Wow.
And he looked at me and he smiled, but it was so cool because it was like Avatar was smiling. I love it. I just had to tell you this because I don't think I ever shared on YouTube. And then I look at this boy, this facilitator, and people say, yeah, psychedelics. No, those were avatars. And this boy was walking Ashala, and he was so graceful, like a cat with this tail behind him.
Truly.
They're here.
Yes, they are here. And people can say, oh, it's just hallucinogenics. However, you often have the experience in a group where people see the same beings. So how do you explain that if it's just hallucinogenics? Exactly. Yeah. It's reality. And I feel as though what I've understood, the guides are giggling with me here now. And when I say the guides, I mean the energies that I tune into in this bandwidth, whatever is showing up in the bandwidth, the heart-centered vibration of love, that's who comes in. But there is almost like what I've heard and understood is that they're going to come towards us in the degree that we're comfortable with and what we're ready for. And sometimes we do get sent on a big ride and we have to find our way back out of that. And that can be pretty scary. But there's always so much resource to draw from, especially in this day and age. I mean, if you have access to a computer, you can get help. You can find information and support and grow and heal, truly, And so what I feel is that they come to us, and I've heard that they will start to show, first of all, synchronicities and patterns, and then like little flashes of light, and then a little bit more. And, they're just testing to see, does that throw you off? Does that throw you into fear? Because they don't want to traumatize us. Like trauma is not the place. There we go. Navigating through 4D and trauma, not so great. We're going to end up down that power rabbit hole, so they want to help us arrive where it's at the point where we become so used to those things that it's like, oh, this is good. I feel safe. I can, like you were like there. You said, I was in the car.
I was like, oh, I love you. You're so good. Yeah. But he was like shaman of the ceremony with like a lot of people. I'm like, I was like, okay.
He felt it. He felt your love.
Yeah.
So totally.
Tell me, Ashala, overall, I just want to sidetrack now. What is your opinion about ayahuasca? Do you have an opinion?
Yes, all the different plant medicines. I feel that there's a time and place, and that not all medicines are meant for everyone, and certainly not at every juncture in their evolution. Again, if you communicate with spirit in that heart-centered way and ask to be shown and guided, and you may notice that you will hear things, you will hear messages. And I feel it's important to sense how those things land for you, and that when you're ready to go on a journey like that and be held, particularly like you say, if you're held in a way that, I almost feel like it's for each person to navigate their own unique way, because for some people, maybe it's through more of a Western, almost clinical format that they're going to feel safer. And for other people, it's going deep into the Amazon and working with a traditional shaman and everything in between. People are going to have even practitioners that are offering a medicine, not necessarily ayahuasca, and they feel drawn to the vibration of that. And even in the time, like I've noticed doing different types of plant medicine ceremonies through the years, that it's, to me, a lot about the timing. And it, like, for example, I'll hear people say, oh, I was trying to do ayahuasca for like 5 years and it was never lining up. And then all of a sudden everything clicked together and it was like perfect and all aligned, and away I went, That's what I feel is important to notice. It's not just about, okay, got to do ayahuasca, check, It's like
Mother Ayahuasca calls you. I believe in it. You've been called.
Absolutely.
I've been called to do it in that time. It was very safe, and it was modern environment in a not modern area. So it was very, very special combination of that. But, I was thinking the next interview we have, I would like to focus with you on something that I feel you are almost like breathing and living. This is ancestors and our connection with them. And the reason for it is because in one of those ceremonies, it was the fourth night, I think you are actually the first person I'm sharing this with, Ashala.
I feel very honored, Anya. Thank you.
Thank you, because I feel like there is this very deep, soulful knowing on your part that will just receive this and understand what I will express now. When I finished that ceremony, and it was pretty much until like 5 a.m., very long, all night, I felt, and I didn't have extreme experiences with ayahuasca. I saw the spaceships, the extraterrestrial came to me. We connected on the heart level. So I experienced like that. And I healed my mom's wounds, my mother's wounds. Very strong experience. But that very night, I remember, I didn't hear it. I more felt it on my soul level. My ancestors told me, thank you. And
Beautiful.
I had this enormous knowing that my trip there was much bigger just about my accumulation of my experiences in this lifetime and trying to release this. It was powerful. And I know you know a lot about that work. So I don't know if today, maybe next time, I would love to go into this conversation, how this happens, how we help them, how they communicate with us, and I just, yeah.
I was gifted a practice, I guess, a format to approach this, and I feel it was because of the unique circumstances of my life. And if you watch that interview with Janine, I explain how I was adopted and how I, longed to know more about my ancestors, and then eventually did find my birth family and found a whole incredible rich history and genealogy that came with that discovery. And also through all the years of not knowing anything about my background, I somehow seemed to be an open channel. Like I felt like it created a vacuum that created a portal for me to channel other people's ancestors. And I learned so much about the relationship through the generations. And it was just like being educated by the guides and the ancestors of all the people that I read for over the years. And that turned into probably about 4 years ago, I guess now. I was in my friend's kitchen and I was doing some just, spiritual work. And all of a sudden I was working with the ancestral wheel as I saw it. And then I was given a complete download of a system of how we can relate intergenerationally. So I'm writing a book about that. And I've been offering classes about that as well.
Thank you so much. I'm already like, this is our next interview. No,
awesome.
I love
it.
Ashala, tell me now, are you open to taking new clients for the readings? How is the situation now? Is there anything that you can say now about that, your work?
Yes, so I do what's called the ancestral healing. It's about an hour and a half for a session, and every one is different. I do have certain regimes that I follow. However, I really also follow the guidance and the ancestors that come through and what they want to share.
Okay.
Basically, I help the person to have a sense of their place in the 7-generation relational wheel. And then I take them through the generations, and we work with connecting certain ancestors that are ready to come forward and do healing work with us now. And then I employ divination and the cards to have communication with those ancestors. And
so if anyone wants to, this is so cool. I love this. I'm like, whoa. You can go on ASHALA'S website, and Ashala, correct me if I make mistake. Eye of the World is your website.
Yes, IEYE of the world.ca.
It's down below, everyone. So scroll down under the video, and then there is contact to you directly, and people can book through the website as well.
That's correct. Yeah. And if they go on to intuitive sessions, intuitive readings, one of those, it says up in the bar, that will take them directly to the page where they can book different types of sessions with me. So
thank you so much. I'm so grateful that you were able to connect with me today. I really, really, really enjoy our conversation today. And I'm looking forward to more talks.
Likewise. And I just want to mention before I say goodbye, Anya, I see, you know, you to me are the epitome of the maiden of May. You are this, like, even what you're dressed in today, and all that's missing now is your crown of flowers. And you know, when you said that, something about seeing the little the ears come up, and I was also seeing like just this beautiful halo around you and a lot of nature in your crown. So there's a real resonance with what I'm saying.
Thank you so much. I have to admit one thing, okay? And I have a little bit problem with this, because you see in me that part, and some people do too on internet, that sometimes I feel I disconnected from. And it's interesting because you already see, and I am still trying to find a way back there.
You are so there right now. Your whole being is radiating it. You are there, and feel the grief of the sorrow of that sense of disconnection, because that's real too.
Oh, trust me, I do.
Yeah. Let those tears flow. That's my message for May.
Thank you.
Let
Thank
it flow
you so
and
much.
get in the currency of the heart vibration, get in the currency of love, and you know, attend to those two dynamics of working with the truth and also working with the new paradigm, and creating from that imagination, that beautiful heart-centered imagination. So
thank you, Ashala. Really honored to be with you today. And everyone, please subscribe to Ashala channel, Ashala Yardley. She does amazing videos on Sundays, especially. I love those Sunday videos lately. She'll be doing more other things that she will mention soon. And her website, also her Instagram. She's not too active there, but I will try to do something to convince her to grow it.
One thing at a time. I've only got about a dozen things on my list right now. So.
I know, it's a lot. Social media can be like overwhelming. Thank you, Ashala, and we talk soon.
Blessings, Anya.